"No one has ever wanted me," she whispered to the shadows. The drifter stepped closer and changed everything. The merchant's hand froze halfway to his payment, eyes locked on Jacob Winters with something between warning and terror. When Jacob mentioned he'd taken the eastern pass through the mountains, the man's face drained of color. He leaned closer, voice dropping to barely audible. "Stay away from the stone house with the blue shutters. The woman who lives there, she's not right. People who get too close don't come back the same. Some don't come back at all." Jacob should have listened. Before we dive into what happened next, we need to hear from you. Drop a like, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and hit that notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Your support keeps these tales alive. The blizzard came faster than he expected. Snow turned the trail to ice. Wind howling through the pines. His horse stumbled, nearly throwing him into a ravine. Then he saw it. A stone house, isolated, barely visible through the white curtain of snow. And on the shutters, faded but unmistakable, a splash of blue paint. He had no choice. The storm was getting worse. When he knocked, the door opened only inches. A woman's face appeared in the gap, dark eyes burning with something between rage and terror. She was young Ute, with long black hair falling loose around her face. Her hand gripped a skinning knife, knuckles white. "You need to leave, right now." Her voice was steady, but her breathing wasn't. Jacob raised his hands slowly. "Just need shelter until the storm passes. I won't cause trouble." "That's what they all say." Her eyes darted past him, scanning the darkness like she expected something worse than a stranger to emerge from the snow. The wind slammed a shutter against stone. His horse whinnied in panic. The woman's jaw tightened. She looked at him, really looked. And for a brief moment, something flickered across her face. Loneliness, raw and desperate. Then it vanished behind walls of anger. "1 hour. You stay by the door. You don't ask questions. You don't look at me. And when the storm stops, you leave and forget this place exists." She stepped back, opening the door just wide enough for him to slip through. The house was smaller than it looked from outside. One room, a fire burning low in the hearth, dried herbs hanging from rafters, and on the walls, something strange. Marks, dozens of them carved deep into stone. Tallies, like she was counting something. Jacob stayed by the door, snow melting from his coat. She moved to the far corner, keeping the room between them, the knife still in her hand. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable. But underneath it, something else. A tension that had nothing to do with fear. "Why do you live out here alone?" The words left his mouth before he could stop them. Her eyes flashed. "I said no questions. The merchant said people don't come back the same. What did he mean?" She turned away, facing the wall, her shoulders rigid, breathing shallow. When she spoke again, her voice was different, quieter, broken. "Because I make them see things they don't want to see. I make them feel things they've spent their whole lives running from, and they hate me for it." Jacob took a step closer. "Don't come closer." Her hand tightened on the knife, but she didn't turn around. But he saw it now, the tremor in her fingers, the way she held herself like she was barely keeping something contained. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of what might happen if he stayed. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, something far more dangerous was beginning to build. Because Jacob Winters had broken the first rule. He'd asked questions. And now he couldn't stop wondering what other rules were about to break before the night was over. The wind hammered against the stone walls. Jacob stood motionless, watching her move through shadows. "You can sit." Her voice cut through the silence. "Just stay on that side." Jacob lowered himself onto a rough stool near the door. The house was sparse. A bedroll, a small table, dried meat hanging from rafters, and those marks on the walls. Hundreds of them. "How long have you lived here?" She turned, and he saw her face fully in the firelight. She was younger than he'd thought, maybe 23, but her eyes looked ancient, haunted, beautiful in a way that made his chest tighten. 4 years, alone, the way it needs to be. Why? Because people fear what they don't understand. Her jaw set. "And I make them understand things they've spent their whole lives pretending don't exist." Jacob leaned forward. "Like what?" She moved closer, just 2 steps. "Like the fact that they're empty inside, that they married the wrong person, that they're dying slowly in lives they hate." Her voice trembled. "I look at them, and they see themselves reflected back, completely bare, and they can't stand it." "So they call you cursed," she laughed, bitter and sharp. "They call me worse than that." The storm intensified. She moved to adjust a leaking bucket, and for a moment her body was close enough that Jacob caught her scent. Sage and smoke and something wild. His pulse kicked up without permission. She froze, sensing the shift. Her eyes snapped to his. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Whatever you're thinking right now, stop thinking it." But she didn't move away, just stood there, breathing shallow, her body tense like a bowstring pulled taut. "Why did your tribe exile you?" Her face went blank. "That's not your concern? Was it because of this? Because you tell people the truth?" Something flickered in her expression. Pain, quick and sharp. "My mother was Ute. My father was a trapper who passed through and left. The tribe tolerated me, but they never accepted me." She turned away. "When I reached the age for marriage, no one would have me. They said I was tainted, that I would bring bad fortune, so I left before they could cast me out." Jacob stood slowly. "And you've been here 4 years. Alone, never left. Where would I go? This is all I have. That's not living. That's just surviving." She spun to face him, fury and grief and hunger all mixed together in her eyes. "You don't know what it's like to be alone so long, you forget what another person's voice sounds like. To go days without speaking because there's no one to speak to." Her voice broke on the last word, but Jacob heard it. She stood there, breathing hard, the knife trembling in her grip. Not from fear, from the effort of holding everything in. And Jacob realized that staying here tonight might be the most reckless thing he'd ever done. Because the merchant was right. People who got close to her didn't come back the same. If you're hooked on this story, make sure you're subscribed. We bring you tales like this every week, and your support means the world. You're doing it right now. Her voice was rough. "Looking at me like that. Like what?" "Like you see something. Everyone who looks at me like that eventually hates me for it. Maybe they hate themselves. Not you." She laughed without humor. "You think you're different?" "I think you've been alone so long, you've convinced yourself you deserve it." Her face flushed with anger. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then prove me wrong." The challenge hung between them. She stared at him, searching his face for mockery or pity. She wouldn't find either. The storm intensified. A crack of thunder shook the walls. She flinched, and the knife slipped from her fingers. It clattered to the floor between them. Neither moved to pick it up. "Why are you really here?" Her voice was quieter now. "In this territory. Men like you don't just wander through mountains in winter storms." Jacob ran a hand through his wet hair. "I was heading north. Work on a settlement. And maybe I was tired of sleeping in camps. Tired of voices that don't matter. Tired of going through the motions without actually feeling anything." Her expression softened. "So you're running too." "Not running, just moving. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because from where I'm standing, you look exactly like someone trying to outrun something." The words hit hard. Maybe she was right. She moved to adjust another bucket, and this time when she passed him, her arm brushed his, just barely. She stopped, frozen in that moment of contact. He turned toward her slowly. She was less than a foot away now, her face tilted up toward his. The fire caught the angles of her cheekbones, the curve of her mouth. She was trembling, not from cold. "This is a mistake." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You should leave when the storm stops." But her eyes said something different. Her eyes begged him to stay. Jacob reached out, slow and deliberate, and tucked that strand of wet hair behind her ear. His fingers grazed her cheek. She inhaled sharply, her whole body going rigid. But she didn't pull away. "How long?" His voice was rough. "How long since someone touched you?" She closed her eyes. A single tear escaped. "Too long. So long I thought I'd forgotten what it felt like." His thumb brushed the tear away. She leaned into his touch, starving for contact, for gentleness, for proof that she was still human. Her eyes opened, locking onto his. In them, he saw the same question, the same hunger, the same terror of wanting something you've convinced yourself you can never have. "What are you waiting for?" Her voice cracked. "If you're going to run, do it now." Jacob's hand slid to the back of her neck, fingers threading through her damp hair. "What if I don't want to run?" "Then you're even more foolish than I thought." But her body swayed closer to his. The distance between them shrank to nothing. He could feel her breath on his lips. One more inch, and it would be over. And that's when she whispered the words that changed everything. "No one has ever kissed me." The words hung in the air. "No one has ever kissed me." Jacob felt them settle into his chest like stones dropping into still water. "Never." She shook her head. "Not once. Not even close. When I was younger there was a boy, Ute. He was kind to me. I thought maybe he saw past what everyone else saw." "What happened?" "He brought me wildflowers one morning, asked me to walk with him. I thought he was going to tell me he cared for me. Instead, he said his mother had forbidden him from being seen with me, that it would ruin his chances." She paused. "He gave me the flowers and walked away." Jacob's hand tightened in her hair. "He was a coward. He was practical. And then I left the tribe and came here. There was no one, just me and the silence. 4 years without anyone touching you with kindness. 4 years without anyone touching me at all," she corrected softly. "Until tonight. Until you." The fire crackled. The storm was beginning to weaken. "Why did you tell me?" "Because I'm tired of pretending I don't want things. I'm tired of acting like I chose this loneliness." Her eyes glistened. "Like I'm strong enough to live without ever knowing what it feels like to be wanted." You do matter. Then prove it. The challenge in her voice was undermined by the way her breath shook. Show me I'm not something to be feared. Show me I'm just a woman who deserves to be treated like she's worth something. Jacob's thumb traced her bottom lip. She gasped softly. You have no idea what you're asking for. Yes, I do. I've had 4 years to think about it. 4 years of wondering what it would feel like. Her hand came up to cover his. I'm asking you to stop making me wonder. Jacob felt something crack open in his chest. What if I hurt you? What if you don't? What if this is the one chance I get to feel like a normal woman? He closed his eyes, fighting for control. When he opened them, she was watching him with desperation. Please, don't make me beg. That broke him. His hand slid to the back of her neck. Her breath caught. Her eyes went wide. Then he pulled her closer, eliminating the last inches between them. Her body melted against his. His mouth hovered over hers. Are you sure? Her answer was to rise up on her toes, closing the distance. When his lips finally met hers, it was gentle, tender, everything her first kiss should have been. She gasped against his mouth, her hands clutching his shirt like he was the only solid thing in a tilting world. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, pouring everything he couldn't say into that single perfect moment. She kissed him back with desperation that broke his heart, like she was trying to memorize every sensation. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, she opened her eyes. Tears tracked down her cheeks, but she was smiling. Thank you, she whispered, for being the first, for making it beautiful. Jacob rested his forehead against hers. They stood there in the firelight, neither wanting to break the spell. But reality pressed in, the storm ending, his journey north, the impossible distance between what they wanted and what their lives allowed. What happens now? Her voice was small, vulnerable. What do you want to happen? She looked toward the door, then back at him. For 4 years, I knew exactly what my life was. Lonely, but simple. Now everything is complicated. Complicated isn't always bad, isn't it? If I follow you north, I'm following a stranger to a life I know nothing about. If I stay here, I'm still alone. Jacob wanted to promise her everything, but he'd learned that pretty lies were worse than hard truths. Then come with me, he said. Not forever if you don't want it, but long enough to see that you deserve more than survival. She stared at him, hope and fear warring in her expression. You'd do that? You'd take me with you? I'd be honored to. A smile broke across her face, genuine and transformative. Then let's go, before I lose my courage. As dawn broke over the mountains, Jacob and the woman who'd finally been kissed rode north together, leaving behind 4 years of loneliness and stepping into something new, something that looked dangerously close to hope. If you enjoyed this story, click the next video to watch another powerful tale where courage and connection collide in unexpected ways. Don't forget to subscribe. Your support means everything.